Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're plunging into the hidden gears of your mind. We're using Daniel Kahneman's amazing book, Thinking Fast and Slow, as our guide.
Yeah, it's been fantastic read.
Our mission, basically to give you the inside scoop on how you really make decisions, often without even, realizing it. It might change how you think about, well, thinking.
And what's just wild is Kahneman, right? He's a psychologist. But he snagged a Nobel Prize in economics back in '02.
Economics, really? How did that happen?
Well, it was for his work, especially with Amos Tversky. They pretty much turned economics upside down.
How so?
They challenged that old idea of people being perfectly rational decision makers. Their work kind of kicked off the whole field of behavioral economics, showed how our psychology messes with pure logic.
Okay, so let's get into the meat of it. Kahneman's big idea. We have two systems running the show upstairs. System one, that's the fast one.
Exactly. System one is your autopilot. It's fast, automatic, intuitive, very emotional, and takes zero effort. It's like a conclusion-making machine built for speed.
Gotcha. Like knowing 2 + 2.
Yep, instantly. Or seeing a face and knowing who it is, reading a billboard quickly, even driving on an empty road, mostly system one.
We're like a chess grandmaster just seeing the right move.
Perfect example. Pure intuition honed over years. But here's the thing. If it's so good and so fast, why have anything else? Does it ever, trip us up?
Ah, good question. And that leads us right to system two.
The slow one.
The very slow one. It's effortful, logical, does the heavy lifting, the calculations. It's conscious thought.
Right. So what kind of tasks need system two?
Things like trying to multiply 17 by 24 in your head.
Oof, yeah. Definitely need to focus for that.
Or figuring out how to squeeze your car into a tiny parking spot. Or maybe learning a totally new skill, like playing the violin. It demands your full attention.
Okay, so putting it together, system one gives us those quick takes, the gut feelings.
Like seeing a sign for Mexican food and immediately wanting, I don't know, queso and margaritas.
Exactly. That's system one shouting. But system two is supposed to be the skeptic. It's meant to step in and say, hold on, is that quick judgment right, or is it biased?
Supposed to?
Yeah, there's the catch. It's a trade-off, speed versus accuracy. And Kahneman points out system two is inherently, well, kind of lazy.
Lazy, so it often just lets system one call the shots.
Pretty much. It takes effort to engage system two. So often we just don't,
Yeah.
even when maybe we should double-check things.
Wow, okay, so understanding this, how has it actually, changed things out there in the real world, beyond just psychology labs?
Oh, massively. It blew up that old economic idea of homo economicus, this perfectly rational person who always makes the optimal choice.
Right, the economic robot.
Yeah, Kahneman showed, nope, emotions. And these mental shortcuts, biases, they're huge factors. And this led to governments creating nudge units.
Nudge units, what do they do?
Places like the UK, the US, they use behavioral science to design better policies, like changing retirement plans.
How so?
Instead of making you opt in to save for retirement, they make it opt out. You're automatically enrolled unless you actively leave.
And that works.
Participation rates shoot way up. Because System 1's path of least resistance is just staying enrolled. It's easier.
That's clever. But okay, what about us? As consumers, this sounds like something marketing departments would love.
Oh, they absolutely do, and they use it constantly.
Well,
Think about free trials for streaming services or software.
yeah. What's the trick there?
That plays on loss aversion. Once you have something even on trial,
Well,
you really don't want to lose it. The fear of losing it feels stronger than the pleasure of getting it in the first place.
So don't miss out is more powerful than get this great deal.
Often, yes. Highlighting potential loss is a strong motivator. Then there's the anchoring effect.
Anchoring? Like with prices.
Exactly. You see a t-shirt, price tag says $50, but it's crossed out and next to it's $25.
Yeah, it makes the $25 feel like a steal.
Right. That initial $50, the anchor, frames your perception of the $25 price, even if the shirt was never really worth $50. And framing is everywhere.
Like the yogurt example.
Perfect. 90% fat-free, sounds healthy, positive, contains 10% fat sounds, less appealing.
Even though it's the exact same yogurt.
Precisely. It's all about how the information is presented.
So just knowing about this stuff, system one, system two, these biases, it gives you a bit of power back, doesn't it? You can spot when it's happening.
It absolutely does. It lets you pause, engage system two maybe, and ask, wait, am I being nudged here? Is this frame influencing me?
We've really only skimmed the surface today, but hopefully it's given you a new lens. Here's something to try. Just for the next day or two, pay attention to your own thoughts.
Yeah, notice when you're running on that fast, intuitive system one, and when do you consciously switch gears to that slower, more effortful System 2.
Maybe think back to a quick decision you made recently, a small purchase maybe, or how you reacted to a news headline.
Could you spot a gut feeling, a mental shortcut that maybe steered that choice without you really thinking it through?
It's pretty fascinating, isn't it? These silent processes, the tug of war, sometimes the partnership, happening inside our heads all day long. What jumps out at you about all this? Lots to chew on. Thanks for diving deep with us today. So, have you ever made a decision and, later thought, what was I thinking? We've all been there, right? Choices that seem baffling later on.
Oh, absolutely. It's surprisingly common, actually. And it really points to how our minds work. Daniel Kahneman brilliantly laid out that we have two systems.
Right, the fast and slow thinking.
Exactly. System 1, that's your fast, intuitive, automatic thinking. And System 2, well, that's the slower, more effortful, deliberate one.
Okay, let's unpack this. So today, we're diving deep into that speedy System 1.
Yeah, because while it's incredibly efficient, it relies on these mental shortcuts. Heuristics, they're called.
Ah, the shortcuts.
And those can lead to predictable errors, cognitive biases. So the mission today is kind of unmasking these hidden workings of your own mind.
Got it. So heuristics, they're rules of thumb.
Pretty much. They help us make lightning-fast decisions, especially when things are uncertain. Often by swapping a hard question for an easier one without us even noticing.
Okay.
They operate unconsciously, which makes them really hard to, stop.
Yeah.
And they're the direct source of a lot of biases.
So, our brain's autopilot, but sometimes it steers us a bit off course.
That's a great way to put it. Yeah. And one very common detour is the availability heuristic.
Availability. How easily things come to mind.
Exactly. We judge how important or likely something is based purely on how easily we remember it. Recent stuff, vivid memories, things plastered all over the media, they get way too much weight.
That's wild. So it's not just what we see, but how, intensely it's shown. Can you give an example?
Sure. Think about this. Dying from falling airplane parts versus a shark attack in the U.S., which sounds more likely.
Oh, sharks, definitely. You hear about those.
Right. But you're actually about 30 times more likely to die from falling airplane parts.
No way. 30 times, yes.
It's just that shark attacks are vivid, they make headlines, they stick in your mind. Falling airplane parts, not so much.
So the media we consume isn't just informing us, it's actively shaping our perception of reality, of risk. What feels common versus what is common. That's quite profound.
It really is. Now, related but different is the anchoring effect.
Okay, anchoring. That's about the first piece of information we get.
Spot on. That first number, the anchor, it just sticks and pulls all our later judgments towards it, even if it's totally arbitrary.
Like in a negotiation.
Perfect example. Salary talks. Maybe you want $75,000. But the interviewer starts low, say $50,000.
Oh, yeah.
That $50K becomes the anchor. Suddenly, you might find yourself thinking, well, maybe I'll ask for $55,000 instead of sticking closer to your original goal. It drags you down.
That first number just resets your expectations, but bypasses your logic.
Totally. And businesses know this. It's why you see prices like $9.99 instead of $10. That left digit anchors you lower.
The old 99 cents trick.
Or listing a house for, say, $255,500 instead of $250,000. That precision makes the seller seem more informed, so buyers might anchor their offers higher or negotiate less aggressively. It's subtle but powerful.
Okay, so we've got availability, what's easy to recall, and anchoring the first number. What about when we categorize things? The representativeness heuristic.
Right. This is judging how likely something is based on how well it fits our stereotype or mental prototype of it.
Like judging a book by its cover, but for everything.
Kind of, yeah. And the big trap here is base rate neglect. We ignore how common something actually is overall.
Yes, rate. Like the basic probability.
Exactly. So imagine someone described as quiet, loves books. Is it more likely they're a librarian or maybe a teacher or a nurse?
The description screams librarian.
It fits the stereotype perfectly. But think about how many more teachers and nurses there are in the world compared to librarians.
Oh, right. The base rate for teachers and nurses is way higher.
Way higher. So statistically, even with that description, it's much more probable they're in one of those larger groups. Our System 1 loves a good story, loves the matching description, and just ignores the underlying numbers.
Wow. That makes you think about how often we might make unfair judgments just based on stereotypes fitting.
Absolutely. In hiring, investing, you name it. Which leads into another System 1 quirk, the illusion of understanding.
Illusion of understanding sounds like thinking we know more than we do.
Precisely. System 1 is like a machine for jumping to conclusions. It takes scraps of evidence and builds a coherent, plausible story, often ignoring gaps or doubts.
So it makes the world seem neater, more predictable than it is.
Exactly. And that fuels overconfidence. Think about hindsight bias. The 2008 financial crisis seemed obvious after it happened, right?
Yeah, in retrospect, everyone saw it coming, apparently.
That's hindsight bias, strengthening that illusion of understanding. Kahneman has this great phrase for it, WYSAity.
Wysiati.
What you see is all there is. System 1 just assumes the limited information it has is the complete picture. It doesn't easily consider what it doesn't know.
Leading to confident views based on potentially very incomplete data. Ouch.
It's a major source of error.
Yeah.
So look, the goal isn't getting rid of System 1. We need it.
Right, it handles most of daily life.
The goal is to recognize its traps and know when to call in the heavy artillery System 2, to engage that slower, deliberate thinking for bigger decisions.
Okay, so actionable stuff. How do we do that? First step.
First, actively question your first impressions. Cultivate some deliberate doubt. Ask yourself, what evidence might prove my gut feeling wrong? Seek out disconfirming evidence.
Be your own devil's advocate, basically. Okay, what about anchoring?
To mitigate anchoring, do your homework before you see that first number. Figure out the reasonable range, the zone of possible agreement, or ZOPO. Then be ready to state your well-researched anchor first, if possible. Don't just react to theirs.
Take control of the anchor. Makes sense. And for representativeness, the stereotype trap.
Always apply statistical thinking. Actively ask, what's the base rate here? Resist judging based only on how well something fits a stereotype. Look at the actual probabilities in individual info.
Right. Think like a statistician, even for a moment.
It takes practice. This journey towards smarter decisions, it's ongoing. It means constantly observing yourself. And as Kahneman noted, we have an almost unlimited ability to ignore our own ignorance.
A sobering thought. So, maybe a final takeaway for everyone listening.
Well, consider this. Fixing biases isn't just about individual willpower. It might be more effective to think about changing the environment where decisions are made.
How so?
Using things like checklists, structured decision protocols, or nudges, small design changes that make the better choice the easier choice. It's about designing systems that account for our cognitive limits.
So not just fixing ourselves, but fixing the process. That's interesting. How could you apply that systemic approach? Maybe in your own work or even just in your daily routines. Something to chew on.
Welcome back to Deep Dive. Ever make a snap decision and, I don't know, immediately wish you could take it back, even when you felt you knew better?
Or maybe looked back at a project, something that didn't quite work out, and thought, how did we miss that? It happens all the time.
It really does. And today we're diving into why. We're exploring Daniel Kahneman's brilliant work in Thinking Fast and Slow.
Yeah, fantastic book. Essential reading, really.
Our goal today for you is to get a handle on how to use your conscious, deliberate mind. Kahneman calls it System 2.
Right, the analytical part.
To help you navigate those tricky situations and ultimately make better, more robust decisions. We'll build on System 1, that fast, intuitive thinking.
Which has all those built-in biases we need to watch out for.
Exactly. So System 2 is that analytical powerhouse. It does the reasoning, the conscious choices.
But here's the catch. Kahneman highlighted System 2 is, well, inherently lazy. It can supervise System 1, but honestly, it prefers not to. It wants to save energy.
And engaging it takes real conscious effort, doesn't it? It's not automatic.
Not at all. It draws on this limited resource, cognitive load, you could call it, mental energy. And you can actually run out of it.
Which means your ability for deep thinking gets depleted through the day.
Absolutely. And that makes System 2 really vulnerable. If you're stressed, tired, mentally drained, System 2 just doesn't have the resources.
So you default back to System 1.
Pretty much. You're running on those quick, intuitive impulses, which underlines how important the environment is for decision-making, not just your own willpower.
Okay, so System 1 can lead us astray, even when we try to be rational. Let's talk about some key biases. The framing effect.
Oh yeah, that's a classic. How information is presented drastically changes how you react to it, even if the core facts are identical.
Your System 1 latches onto the emotional feel of the frame.
Precisely. Think about a medical treatment. If a doctor says it's 95% effective, you feel pretty good, right?
Sure, sounds great.
But if they say there's a 5% chance it might not work, suddenly it feels riskier.
Even though it's the exact same statistic.
Wow. So System 2 has to step in. You need to consciously reframe it, Ask yourself, okay, what's the objective data here? Look past the surface presentation.
Makes sense. And what about looking back? That feeling of, I knew it all along.
Ah, hindsight bias. The I knew it all along illusion. It's incredibly common.
We overestimate how predictable things were after we know the outcome.
Totally. It's like watching sports. After a loss, everyone says, "Oh, I knew they were going to lose when X happened."
Monday morning quarterbacking, yeah.
Exactly. And the danger is it distorts your memory. It stops you from actually learning from what happened because you think you already understood it perfectly.
So how does System 2 fight that?
Kahneman suggests a great technique called a premortem.
Premortem, okay.
Before you start a big project or make a significant decision, you imagine it's already failed, like total disaster.
Okay, bit grim, but I see where this might be going.
Then you brainstorm all the possible reasons why it failed. What could have gone wrong? It forces you to identify risks before they happen. It actively engages System 2 to anticipate problems.
I like that, proactive.
Hmm?
So general strategies then to get this lazy System 2 more involved.
First big one, consciously slow down your thinking. Don't just jump to conclusions.
How? Like what, practically?
Ask yourself questions. What else could be true here? Or, crucially, look for information that disproves your initial idea, not just stuff that confirms it.
That's hard. We like being right.
We do.
Mm-hmm.
But System 2 needs that challenge. Also, manage your cognitive load. Protect your mental energy.
So maybe schedule specific time for big thinking tasks when you're fresh.
Exactly. Uninterrupted System 2 time. Don't try to make huge decisions when you're exhausted or stressed out.
And maybe automate smaller decisions like what to wear, what to have for breakfast. Save the bandwidth.
Definitely. Reduce the number of minor choices to free up energy for the big ones. And remember, it's not just about individual effort.
Right. You mentioned debiasing the system itself.
Yeah, designing processes or environments that encourage rationality, like removing names from resumes during initial screening to reduce unconscious bias. Making the sister itself help System 2 along.
Okay, lots to think about. Let's try and boil this down. Actionable takeaways for everyone listening.
Okay, 3 things. 1, cultivate System 2 time. Block out focus time for your important decisions. No distractions.
Got it. 2, practice reframing. When you face a problem, especially one phrased emotionally, ask how else you could state it. Look at gains and losses.
And 3, use the premortem. Before your next big thing, imagine it failed. Brainstorm why. Identify those risks up front.
Right. And it's crucial to remember this isn't a one-and-done fix, is it?
Not at all. Understanding these systems is ongoing. System 2 is lazy by design. You have to keep consciously activating it using these strategies. Just knowing about bias doesn't stop it.
You need the active countermeasures. So here's something to chew on. Knowing your System 2 needs that nudge. And knowing these strategies, what's one important decision you'll approach differently this week? How can you turn a potential gut reaction error into a really solid, thought-through choice?
Welcome to another deep dive. Today, we're digging into something really fundamental about how we make choices. Prospect theory. Specifically, how we value gains and losses. Well, asymmetrically, you've felt this, right? That losing, say, $50 just stings way more than finding $50 feels good.
Oh, absolutely. That imbalance is exactly what the theory gets at. It comes from some really groundbreaking work by Daniel Kahneman and Amos Tversky. Kahneman actually got the Nobel for it.
Yeah.
They showed our choices aren't always strictly rational,
Yeah.
Really challenged the older economic ideas.
Okay, so let's get into that asymmetry. What's the absolute core of it? What's driving that difference?
Well, at its heart is loss aversion. Basically, the psychological hit from a loss feels much stronger, maybe twice as strong, as the pleasure you get from an equivalent gain.
Twice as strong. Wow.
Yeah. And it's not just like a modern thing. It probably has deep evolutionary roots. For our ancestors, losing scarce resources, that was a major threat to survival.
Way bigger than the benefit of gaining a little extra. Makes sense.
Exactly. Protecting what you have was critical.
But that also suggests how we even decide if something is a gain or a loss isn't fixed, is it?
You're pointing towards reference dependence. That's key. We don't judge things in isolation. It's always relative to some reference point. Could be your current status, what you expected, even how you compare to others.
Can you give an example?
Sure. Think about going back to a place you loved, maybe a cafe. But this time, it seems a bit run down. Maybe the coffee isn't quite as good. You feel disappointed, right? Because your memory, that positive past experience, your reference point. It feels like a loss compared to that.
Ah, okay. Even if someone new visiting might think it's perfectly fine.
Precisely. Their reference point is different.
So context is everything.
Yeah.
And I guess this affects how we approach risk, too,
Yeah.
especially when facing a loss.
Definitely. This shows up in the value function, which looks like an S shape on a graph. For gains, the curve flattens out, meaning the more you gain, the less thrilling each additional gain feels. So we tend to be risk-averse when we're winning. We prefer the sure thing.
Okay, lock in the win.
Right. But for losses, the curve is much steeper, especially at the start, and it's convex. This means people often become risk-seeking when facing a definite loss.
So they'll gamble to try and avoid the certainty of losing.
Exactly. They'll take a bigger risk just to potentially get back to zero, to avoid feeling that pain of the loss.
That's fascinating and kind of irrational in a way.
It often is, from a purely economic standpoint.
Does this also mean just how information is presented can sway us?
Absolutely. That's framing effects. Classic example, a medical procedure. Call it a 90% survival rate, and people are generally more willing to accept it than if you frame the exact same outcome as a 10% mortality rate.
Even though it's identical information, just the framing changes the choice.
The framing powerfully shifts the perception from gain survival to loss mortality.
And we see this play out everywhere, right? Like in finance.
Oh, definitely. The disposition effect is a prime example. Investors tend to hold on to their losing stocks for too long.
Hoping they'll recover.
Yeah, hoping to break even just to avoid crystallizing that loss. And they often sell their winning stocks too soon.
Locking in the smaller gain, afraid it might disappear. It's all loss aversion again.
It is. And marketers, they are masters of this. Think about FOMO, fear of missing out.
The limited time offer stuff.
Exactly. Today only.
No.
Only 3 left. Booking.com saying only 1 room left at this price. Spotify giving you a free trial.
You get used to it. Then the idea of losing it makes you want to pay.
It leverages that fear of losing the benefit, that loss aversion.
Okay, another big one is the sunk cost fallacy, right? Sticking with something bad just because you already invested in it.
Yes, that's a huge consequence.
Yeah.
You keep watching that terrible movie because you already paid for the ticket or watched the first hour.
Or stay in a failing project because you've put so much work in.
Right. You're driven by not wanting to feel like your past effort or money was wasted.
Yeah.
That feeling itself is a perceived loss you're trying to avoid.
But rationally, that past investment is gone, isn't it? It shouldn't dictate the future.
Logically, no. What matters are the future costs and benefits.
So knowing all this, how can we actually make, better decisions, override this wiring?
Well, first step is just awareness. Acknowledge the fear. Recognize when loss aversion might be pulling your strings. That alone is powerful.
Yes, noticing it? Okay.
Second, try to actively reframe. If you're focused on a potential loss, consciously shift your perspective. What could be gained by changing course?
So instead of losing the time already invested in the bad movie, think about gaining 2 hours of your evening back.
Precisely. And for sunk costs specifically, focus only on the future. Ask yourself, knowing what I know now, what is the best path forward from this point? Ignore the past investments.
That takes discipline.
It does. But it leads to better outcomes.
So understanding prospect theory is like getting a lens, a way to see why everyone, makes choices the way they do.
Yeah, it's not about saying these biases are bad, just that they exist. They're hardwired.
Acknowledging them is the first step.
And by consciously thinking about these things, you can start to move beyond just those gut reactions, those intuitive impulses.
Make more considered choices. Okay, so here's something to think about as we wrap up. How might recognizing your own shifting reference points, what you compare things to, change how you actually pursue happiness or define success in your own life? Have you ever kicked off a big project, maybe fixing up the house, planning a trip, and you're totally convinced this will be smooth sailing, quick, won't cost much, only for it to just drag on and, cost way more time and money than you thought? Yeah, I've definitely been there. So today, we're doing a deep dive into exactly that. We're exploring the mind's, let's call it fascinating but often costly, relationship with overconfidence and optimism. These are, cognitive biases. They make us underestimate risks and, frankly, overestimate how well things will go. We'll be drawing a lot from Daniel Kahneman's work here, especially his idea of 2 systems in the brain. Think of it like this. System 1, that's your fast, automatic, gut feeling kind of thinking. It's like a storyteller, making sense of things even with limited info. It confidently fills the gaps. and it ignores what it doesn't see. Kahneman called this WISI. What you see is all there is. Remember, WISI, it's key. Then you've got system 2. That's the slower, more deliberate analytical part. It thinks things through. But honestly, it can be kind of lazy. Doesn't always like to step in.
And that's the crucial part. These biases aren't just like occasional mistakes. They're baked into our default way of thinking, especially when System 2 isn't really paying attention.
Yeah.
System 1 loves a good, positive story, so it naturally leans towards optimism. And overconfidence. It's sort of the brain's default setting, making us feel sure, even when, well, maybe we shouldn't be.
Okay, so System 1 is spinning these nice, coherent stories. Where does overconfidence really fit in? Is it just thinking we're better than we are, or is it deeper?
It's absolutely about inflating our own abilities and downplaying the risks. People often call overconfidence the most significant cognitive bias out there. Think about this. Have you ever felt you're a better than average driver?
Maybe.
Well, studies show huge percentages, like 73% to 93% of Americans think they are,
Yeah.
which, statistically just can't be right for everyone. It just shows how easily we buy into this illusion of being superior. System 1 smooths over ambiguity, makes us feel like we understand things based on what's easy to see. That fuels it. We even see it in things like investing. Some studies suggest men, for instance, can be more overconfident. And paradoxically, that can actually lead to worse financial results.
And that ties into the planning fallacy, doesn't it? That thing where we just consistently underestimate how long things will take, how much they'll cost.
Yep.
Even when we have past examples showing we're usually wrong, you think of massive projects like the Sydney Opera House, supposed to be 4 years, $7 million, ended up taking 14 years and over $100 million.
Wow.
Or Boston's Big Dig. Started at maybe $2.8 billion, ended up closer to $15 billion.
Those examples are just staggering.
So why? Why do we keep doing it, even with that kind of evidence?
A big reason is we tend to take what's called the inside view. We focus so much on the unique bits of our specific project. We think, oh, this time it's different.
Right. We get caught up in the specifics.
Exactly. What we should be doing is taking the outside view. That means looking for data, statistics, from similar projects in the past. Using those base rates.
Base rates, like what usually happens.
Precisely. They're your best defense against the planning fallacy.
Yeah.
But our brains, they resist it. Taking that outside view is hard cognitive work.
Yeah.
You have to set aside all the details you love about your plan. You have to engage that lazy system too. And sometimes, especially in organizations, there's this pressure. It feels easier to ask for forgiveness later than get realistic permission up front, so people lowball the estimates.
Okay, but let's pause for a second. Optimism isn't entirely the enemy here, is it? I mean, it's a pretty powerful human trait. It drives motivation, resilience, hope even. You need some of that, maybe even what looks like unfounded optimism to start something huge, right? Like a business.
Oh, absolutely. Optimism is vital. But it's the unchecked optimism that gets us into trouble. Think about smokers who genuinely believe they won't get cancer, even though they know the risks exist for others. Or the kind of optimism that fueled the 2008 financial crisis, or led to underpreparing for disasters, like Fukushima. And there might even be a biological root for this, something called asymmetric learning. Our brains seem wired to absorb good news about risks more readily than bad news.
Really? So we're kind of built to ignore warnings.
In a way, yeah. We update our beliefs more easily when the news is positive. It's fascinating.
Wow, okay. So it feels like we're set up to fail sometimes. But there have to be ways to manage this, right? To use the good parts of optimism without getting, well, totally blindsided. How do we fight these biases when we're planning something important?
One really effective tool is the pre-mortem. It flips the usual post-mortem on its head. Instead of analyzing failure after it happens.
You imagine it failed before you even start.
Exactly. You get your team together and say, okay, imagine this project was a complete disaster. What went wrong? And then you work backward to figure out potential causes.
That sounds counterintuitive, but I can see how it would work.
It forces people to think critically, breaks that tendency towards groupthink, and makes it safe to voice potential problems.
So how do you actually do a pre-mortem? Is there a process?
Yeah, it's pretty straightforward. You set aside time early on, get the key people in a room, you have everyone imagine the failure, really visualize it. Then, individually, people jot down all the reasons they think it might have failed. You collect all those reasons, discuss them, prioritize the big risks, and then, crucially, you plan ways to prevent those things from happening. It deliberately forces System 2 to engage, you see. Overrides that default optimism.
That makes sense. And besides the premortem, you mentioned the outside view earlier. We really need to make an effort to look at similar past projects, use that data.
Definitely. Reference class forecasting using historical data is key. And other things help too, like actively seeking out different opinions, getting honest feedback, really learning from mistakes, not just assigning blame, and just consciously trying to engage system two, especially when stakes are high or you feel stressed or rushed. Take a breath, slow down, question that first optimistic assumption.
So at the end of the day, our minds are these amazing, efficient machines, but they have these predictable glitches, these errors rooted in seeing things a bit too confidently, a bit too optimistically.
Exactly. And just knowing about these pitfalls, understanding how our thinking works, that's the essential first step. It's all about finding that balance, isn't it? Harnessing the power of optimism to get things done, but mixing it with some critical thinking, some realism to navigate what's actually ahead. So maybe the question for you is, what will you do differently next time you plan something big?
That's all for this episode of the Deep Dive Cast. Thanks for joining us. We hope you gained some valuable insights. Be sure to tune in next time for another deep dive into the world's best ideas. Until then, keep learning and growing.